I grew up in Lunenburg, and my worldview as a child growing up in what was a fishing town then is a lot different than my worldview now that I've been able to travel the world and have a whole range of other experiences which essentially expand my worldview. When did you last stop to question how you've come to see the world the way that you do? To me, these days, it's happening like all of the time, and sometimes I drive myself a little bit crazy because I'm constantly in the exploration, and sometimes I like it, and sometimes it's a little bit hard because I don't always like to have to try to think about where someone else is coming from or how they're thinking about. So when was the last time, when was the first time that you started to question the way that you see the world? For me, it was when I was a child, and I had all of these questions that I couldn't really ask anybody. So questions like, how did this mind get in this body? And why this body and not some other body? And why these eyes? Why do I see the world through these eyes and not some other eyes? One thing I will say is that when I found out I was adopted, my worldview about myself expanded kind of dramatically in some ways. And it stayed pretty similar in other ways because, again, there's a complex interrelationship between all of these things. Interesting thing about worldview is we think about blinders. Part of my worldview, part of my story, even now knowing that I was adopted into this family, when I look at pictures and I think about my family, I don't see that I don't look like my family that I grew up with. When I look at this picture or I think about my family, I look like my family. This is my sister, who you can see that when we were little, we were together. And this is the picture on the other side is the two of us about a year after we reconnected, after 40 years of not knowing each other. And I can identify with her. I feel like, yeah, I see that I look like her. I see that we have a lot of similar traits, which is really fascinating to me. But this is my birth father and my half-sister, and I don't see how I resemble them. But other people can look at these pictures and they can make all of these connections that I personally cannot make. So why is this relevant to anything? It's partly because it's where our worldview comes from. And the first part of it is that our worldview is influenced and shaped by our history.